Thanks for joining us for Baptist Press this week. I'm Brandon Porter. One of the most significant emphasis Sundays on the Southern Baptist calendar is the Sanctity of Human Life Sunday. That's what we'll be talking about today with Dr. Jason Thacker from the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission. Stay with us for this discussion about the sanctity of human life. Dr. Thacker, thanks for joining us for this opportunity to talk on Baptist Press this week. We're glad that you're with us here today.
Yeah, really glad to be with you, Brandon.
Yeah, as we think about Sanctity of Human Life Sunday, there have been a lot of recent developments around the issue of human life and abortion. What makes this Sanctity of Human Life Sunday unique?
Yeah, this is kind of a big celebration in many ways because just this past year, we had the Dobbs decision come down in June of 2022, which revolutionized and changed the entire landscape of the abortion debate in America because it took it from a, quote, federal right and saying, no, it's actually something that can be decided by the states. And so we at the ERLC have kind of shifted our agenda in many ways that we're working on these various issues. But I think this is a time the church can celebrate. Thank God for the monumental shift that's taken place and the thousands and thousands of children who are living today because of what happened in that momentous Supreme Court decision. This is something the church has longed for and prayed for so many years. And I think this is a really neat opportunity for us to celebrate.
Yeah, that's good. So what might that celebration look like? I think you mentioned, obviously we've prayed for this occasion for many years. What are some other ways that a church could mark that specific Sunday?
Yeah, and this kind of depends on your local context. Many of our churches, which is something amazing about Southern Baptist life, is that so many of our churches are working in the trenches in pro-life work. This wasn't something that started last summer. This is actually something that's been working for years and years and years. And I think this could be a great opportunity not only to kind of theme a Sunday and talk about some of these issues from the pulpit, as many of our pastors do week in and week out, but also to be celebrating the many people in our churches who are doing this amazing pro-life work through pregnancy resource centers, through adoption, foster care, to celebrate life and to recognize the folks who are doing that kind of in the trench work, but also to thank the church for the tireless efforts they've had over these many years and many decades when it didn't seem, there wasn't a lot of hope in some sense that something like this would happen. We can take this time to be able to celebrate, to just rejoice in that, but also to encourage people to continue to be working in these areas and to encourage our people to continue to pour in resources and time and money so that we can continue to care for all humans, especially the preborn.
So from your work with the ERLC, your work with the seminary, your work with local churches, what are some ways that you see churches doing this well? Obviously, the decision made by the Supreme Court is something that had been prayed for and longed for, but coming alongside of pregnancy support centers and encouraging people like you said who really are in the trenches, even helping families when they experience an unplanned pregnancy. What are some ways that you see churches doing that well that maybe we would want to lift up and emulate and honor on a special Sunday like this?
Yeah, I think you mentioned a lot of those. I mean, many of our churches are working in foster care and adoption. They're coming alongside mothers who are in crisis pregnancy situations or such unplanned pregnancies, and they're not really sure what to do. I mean, that's one of the amazing things after the Dobbs decision is even seeing some of our pro-life pregnancy resource centers and just being stocked full of diapers and strollers and formula and a host of things to come alongside these mothers, to come alongside these families in many ways to say, you can do this. This child is valuable. This child is made in the image of God just like you. And the church is here. And I think that's some of the things we can be celebrating and also encouraging our people to become more and more active. I mean, just down the road from our home, we also have a pregnancy resource center, and they're always in need of volunteers. So what ways could our local churches partner with these pregnancy resource centers that are in the trenches? They're working alongside these women. They're working alongside these families and caring for the children, not just up until the point of birth, but even afterward. Because if we really do believe as Christians in a whole life, pro-life ethic, in the sense of all people are made in the image of God, this care, this support doesn't stop when the baby's born. You continue that well after. They're coming alongside and helping to support these mothers and these families in very difficult situations, but situations that can ultimately be glorifying to God.
Yeah, that's great. So for many years, the ERLC has made this issue a priority. They've put great attention on the dignity of human life, the sanctity of human life. What are some resources that are available to churches? If a pastor is wanting to make some resources available, what's out there for them?
Yeah, and that's the one of the amazing things about Southern Baptist history is that the Christian Life Commission at the time, now the ERLC, was pushing to add this to our denominational calendar. This was something we fought for. It was not easy, especially given our history as Southern Baptists and our positions on abortion. But for the last over 40 years, we've been pushing for these type of issues, caring for these, and seeking to equip the church. And so there's a host of issues and a host of resources that is at ERLC.com, from bulletin inserts to videos to resources to articles. In many ways, just reminding the church that we're here. We love the local churches. We want to get behind what the local churches and local associations, especially state conventions, are doing. And to be able to support that, as we said earlier, the Dobbs decision kind of shifted, in some sense, our emphasis from not just working on federal issues, but also working at the state level. So partnering with our state conventions who are doing such good work there. And one of the ways that we're able to do that, and one of the things that I think pastors and ministry leaders can do, is also to help place ultrasounds in these pregnancy resource centers, many of which are under-resourced. And that's something that we do through the Psalm 139 project at the ERLC, is partnering with state conventions, local conventions, partnering with a host of organizations to place these very expensive ultrasound machines, but life-saving ultrasound machines. And I think that's one way. Another way that churches can be celebrating and being able to kind of marshal their people and their resources and their time and investment in saving lives.
Yeah, that's great. So we've been talking about churches. We've been talking about the specific day, but now let's bring it maybe more to a point here as we wrap up. Let's think about an individual. What about the person who wonders, what can I do? I'm only one person. My voice feels so small in this. How would you encourage them? What kind of an answer would you give them as to the difference that they could make with their voice, with their life?
I think that's a great question. I think for the last 49 years, with the Roe decision that was until it was overturned there in the Dobbs decision last summer, that was what a lot of people felt like, is like, we're kind of pushing. There's not a lot of hope. We don't really think that we're going to be able to do too much here. And there was this reminder that God is in control. God is the one who did this. And so even as an individual, we can participate in what God is doing in our nation, what God is doing in our communities and our churches, and coming alongside him, coming alongside his body, the church, to do that, because Rome wasn't built in a day. And we took 49 years for us to get to a place where we could overturn this disastrous decision in Roe versus Wade that was reaffirmed in Planned Parenthood versus Casey. And so the little things along the way make a significant difference. But one of the really particular ways, and we've already mentioned this, is that one person can make a life-changing relationship and decision by working alongside women who are experiencing unplanned pregnancies or even crisis pregnancies, coming alongside these centers, volunteering, providing, just giving a ride here and there, or doctor's appointments, and providing different things, different resources for these families. Because it's not just a policy or legislative issue. It's also a moral and ethical issue in terms of the way that we as individuals participate in seeking the common good and seeking to honor the dignity and value and worth of every single human being who is created in the image of God.
Yeah, that's good. So as we think about this Emphasis Sunday, as we think about this issue, is there anything else as we wrap up, anything else that you would add?
Yeah, I mean, human dignity is at the center and at the core of the Christian ethic. I think often we think of Christian ethics as just something kind of where we have to deal with those really difficult decisions. But in many ways, it's just the Christian life. It's living in light of these eternal truths. And so as we seek to apply the Christian ethic to every aspect of our life, human dignity and the image of God are central to our understanding. And that's why I'm so thankful for Southern Baptists and the tireless efforts of our state conventions, our local associations, and even our national partners coming alongside to love these women, to love these families, and to care for the preborn, and to seek to give them an opportunity at life so that we might love God and love our neighbor as ourselves.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here on Baptist Press this week.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Brandon.
Thanks for joining us for Baptist Press this week. We hope the conversation has been helpful today. Of course, the topics that we've talked about in this episode are things that we write stories about every day at Baptist Press. Once you visit us at baptistpress.com, while you're there, make sure to sign up for our morning and afternoon emails. Thanks for watching Baptist Press this week.